And Gareth and I are going to chat to you a little bit this morning about how this sort of approach helps places succeed. Vessel in that introduction there suggested we were going to speak for an hour in quite a lot of detail, and I could see some of you thinking, oh my God, you know. Let me assure you, we'll try not to speak for a whole hour, and we will try and make it entertaining, hopefully, as we go along, so it isn't going to be a load of theory. We've had the privilege to spend the last few years working on this project with the places, with what I can say is a fantastic team of people, from the project officers to the people in the councils and the people actually running what is a highly innovative project. I have to say, what Carolyn said about it when we started off on the journey, I think all the world in terms of this project looked very, very different, and we definitely all learnt as we went along, because no one has done this before, which was pretty exciting. Four very different but very special places, and Gareth and I, it's our job to get a buzz about places, and we've certainly had a buzz about the 4 places that we've been dealing with here. I'm going to talk a little bit about what place branding or place making, etc., is all about, what it is, how it works, why it's important, and a little bit about the process we've used with these 4 places in terms of giving them some methodology so that they could work through to what the end results are. And Gareth will then talk a little bit about what those end results are and how this sort of methodology and thinking has worked for those places. You know, this is an art, not a science. These are 4 different places. So although there is a methodology, it's highly flexible to relate to each place. Thinking Place, I think we are probably UK and Ireland's only place specialist. All we do is places, we don't do anything else, that's all we work with. We work with places through local authorities, through developers, but at the end of the day, the aim is always about helping the place succeed, about helping the place bring out why it's special and where it's going and what it's for. And we've worked with places from countryside, as in Northern Ireland, all the way through counties like Kent, Derbyshire, down to places like Bath, Coventry, and indeed we are just about to start with Limerick. So that continues our very, very strong relationship with the island of Ireland, which is fantastic. So why do people use Thinking Place? They use us because they're concerned about issues like this, which are very, very key for all places. Everyone has these issues, and at the moment, more so than ever, is the importance in terms of being competitive and standing out and being distinct. And a place understanding its story, its narrative, what it's all about and where it's come from, and more importantly, where it's going, is key. And it's key because at the end of the day, a place like anything else needs to be understood. A place needs to be relevant to the people it's trying to talk to, so that ultimately it can be chosen. So it's no different than many other things. And as I said, that's why different people use us, and that's the sort of spread of the sort of places that we work with. And the principles of this, it doesn't matter whether it's a country or a street or a neighbourhood, and we've done them all, right? The principles hold good across all of it, as you will see. So, what we try and do, and what the process is about, is helping places think, and then more importantly, act differently. So, doing things differently. And, you know, places really, really matter to people. People are passionate, emotional about their place. Why? Because they've got great attachment to it. They might have lived there a long time. They may have been to university or college there, got the first job there, met the love of their life there, etc., etc. So places have huge resonance to people, very, very important. Yet we don't really think enough about places. The place gets lost in a plethora of interventions, projects, discussions between different groups in places, which sometimes turn into arguments, and the poor old place gets kind of left behind in that. And really what we're trying to do is to change that view, to get a more positive view of place. Now, when we work with places, we see lots of different stuff that is pretty unhelpful. So if any of this relates to you, I apologise, but my job is to be provocative, so I will be. So first of all, we see places describing themselves and trying to characterise themselves in ways that are less than helpful. So here we go. Here's some stuff that we see. If I had £1 for every town that I walk into that says it's going to be the first, the best, the greatest, greenest, eco-friendly town, I would be a very rich person. It's fine saying that, but unless you are doing something different there, every town is talking about that. Every town is doing it, so it's not making you distinct. Please, please, do not use world class, right, in front of stuff. Very, very few things are world class. Yet if I go on place websites, if I look at what places say about themselves, world class is littered around, you know. Here, look at our world class building. Just because it's glass and steel doesn't make it world class. Honest, you know. And finally, when we look at strategies, they all end, if they're anything to do with place, with these immortal words, making it a great place to live, work, study, and invest, and sometimes play. Brilliant, that, really exciting. It's what we call TIPEX strategy. Could be any place, anywhere, any country, means nout. So we see a lot of that. We also see a lot of this. People in silos. Places in silos, different departments within councils describing the place in different ways, with different images. Higher and further education, doing it in different ways. The business community, doing it in different ways. Guys, there's one place. There's one Rill. There's one Dunleary. There is only one. There might be different points of emphasis, but there's only one place. We also find wonderful experiences. So I'm going to show you now a slide where I got out of my car. This is my first 30-second experience of the St. Patrick's Trail in Northern Ireland. There we go. Cracking. Do you know, I felt so up for it, you know? Great experience. I thought, that's set the scene. That's simple stuff. That doesn't need millions of pounds of investment. That's people caring about their place. We also see lots of stuff about chucking money at issues without understanding them. So if a business park isn't full, if we're not getting enough people into our hotels, if we're not attracting investment, if we're not getting enough visitors, don't worry, we'll do a brochure. And maybe we'll do a website. Brilliant. That'll solve it, won't it? No. They won't solve it, because the reason you're not getting these things is probably people don't know what you're about, why you're different as a place, why you should be chosen. And then we get a lack of care and attention to detail. I didn't know, till we did the work in Northern Ireland, that Northern Ireland have the only Italian World Heritage Site in Northern Ireland. Gianni's Causeway. Yeah? I don't know if any of you have been. But there we go. Gianni's Causeway, fantastic place to go. One of the most important sites worldwide, visited by hundreds of thousands of people, yet someone couldn't be bothered to actually make that sign professional. It's just not good enough, you know. These things are not about lots of money. And, you know, we get to a problem with places when we talk with places all the time of, well, we've always held this event this time of the year. Well, we've always produced a tourist brochure. It's been fine. Well, that isn't good enough, because just because you're going to keep doing the same thing over and over and over again and thinking it's going to work, sorry, it won't. Right? So it's about thinking differently about places. So we're going to do a little exercise now, and anybody involved in the brand team can't play because they've seen this. All right? So we're going to look at now, just to see if you're awake, because it's flipping warm in this room, isn't it? It's like Dunleary sauna. We're going to look at some countries in Scotland, there else helped you, hasn't it? We're going to look at some countries in Europe, all with 3 million people, all beginning with S, and I haven't really given anything away here. So you're going to take part in this, and the first one is pretty easy, right? Because I don't want you too challenged. So you look at that symbol, and things happen to you, and you will think about certain things, and you have certain resonances because you just do. So you will think about stuff like that, about cultural heritage, or whether if you're a girl you fancy him. You will think about landscapes, etc., beautiful, the places. Obviously this is Edinburgh. You might think about some of the products that there are there. And all of that is very positive. Because you have been there, you see it on TV all the time, you've done business there, been on holiday there. So that's fine. So let's try this one. Bit harder now. So 3 million people in Europe begins with S. Now, I know we've got a cosmopolitan audience here, so come on, someone shout out where it is. Nope.
Slovakia.
It is Slovakia. Well done. I knew we had a cosmopolitan audience. And of course, you look at that and loads of things flood through your mind, like that. Because unless you have been there, visited it, done business, read lots about it, you know nought. We'll try another one. And so if it wasn't Slovakia, then it must be Slovenia. And you'll see the lads here have got a good deal on the cloth for the flags, haven't they? You know? So I don't know about Ireland, Wales working together, but look at this in Europe, you know, I tell you, we can do flags red, white and blue with a little logo, it's not a problem, you know? And that's what floods through your mind again when you think about Slovenia, because again, unless you've been there, it's nothing. There is no resonance. You don't think anything. And yet those two countries are spending far more than Scotland on investment marketing, visitor marketing, trying to build a destination and an economy. It's just it ain't relevant to you, it isn't getting through to you, you aren't hearing any of it above the noise. So that's why it's important in what we do to develop a new way of thinking about the place to ensure that you get thought about. Because if you're not thought about, you will not get chosen. It's as simple as that. And in doing this, we aim to make the place the hero. To polish it up, put it in lights, the place. And by the place, I don't mean all the projects, I don't mean all the funding partners that we see on signs all over the place, because surprise, surprise, people when they look at things in places don't care who funded it. Right? They just care about what the place is delivering for them. And is it delivering what they want? That's what they worry about. The place is the hero, not the partners, not the local authority, not the businesses that were involved in the project. It's the facilities and it's the place. So making the place the hero is critical. And when we walk into places, we ask some really simple questions. Here are some really simple questions. And obviously, they aren't simple. And the first one is quite challenging to start with. Right? When you ask people what their place is for, you either get a room of blank faces, or you get 100 different answers. I don't know which one is better or worse. Right? But it's really important that you've got a clear view of your narrative, of your priorities, of what you're about how you build on your history, your culture, your heritage, and project that forward. And which audiences are you dealing with? Who matters to you? And again, it's no good to say, well, everybody does, you know, residents, potential businesses, the media, all in places, you know, different ones of those are of different importance. So understanding and answering those and then creating your place story is very important. So the relationship between a customer is direct with a place, and that's what we're aiming for. Too often we see multi-relationships So, as I said before, tourism describing the place, university describing the place, local authority describing the place. And at the end of the day, there is only one place, and customers don't break themselves up neatly into little groups for you. You know, they don't think, oh, wow, I'm a tourist, you know, because you're a tourist, but you might also have a business and be thinking of investing somewhere because you might need new premises. So you don't take your business brain out when you go in there for a weekend break. So you have to look at that relationship. You also have to think about what matters for people with a place, and it's really, really simple. For the people in a place, and most places are undergoing change, regeneration, development all the time. Some of it we're listening to outside. But at the end of the day, what matters then for the people is, so what's in it for me? Will I get a job? Will I get a better job? Will I get a new cinema? Will I get new shops? Will I get a new arts and culture centre? And if you're in Dunleary, the answer is clearly yes. But that's what they care about. Again, not who funds it, what's happening. And for the people outside of the place, again, it's really simple. Why would I choose you as opposed to place X over here? In fact, not only why would I choose you, why would I even think about you, consider you? So, very important questions relating to the audience. And when you get down to a place story, a place narrative, a place brand, the important bit about it is it's not flown in from somewhere, it's about what makes the place special. It then conveys that visually, verbally, and experientially, and I can only say experientially pre-5 o'clock. But that is really what it's all about. That's critically important. It's about authentic. It's about every place being different. If you look around this room at the place stories that the places have created, right, they are all different. Why? Because the places are different. So the methodology doesn't produce clone towns. It absolutely hones in on distinctiveness of place, so that then people can understand what the place is and be attracted to it, and it doesn't matter whether that's next week, next year, or 10 years' time. It's clarity on what the place is about. And this is kind of the highly complex model that we work with. So if you imagine that that's the whole of the place, or the whole of the place experience, what we're after in this process and what's happened in all of the towns is to get at the big idea. And the big idea is really the compelling point of difference for that place. Why is it distinct? How is it special? What can it say about itself that is different? It's not about uniqueness, because again, like world class, most places don't have things that are unique, right? They just don't. 60–70% of stuff in places is pretty much the same wherever you go. So it's focusing on things done well, special things. And then when you get that big idea and themes, which is the thinking bit behind the story, so it's not what the customer sees, you then portray it across the different bits of the experience. So you use it in terms of what the website is all about and communications. Communications is easy. Websites, brochures, literature, you will see some of it in the room, and that's important. But it's a lot harder when you use that thinking to think, how's that going to change what products we build, what facilities we develop, the things that we need in the place? How do we use it to change the environment, public realm, landscape, bins, benches? And Garrett's going to show you some of those exciting things. It's amazing how exciting you can get about a granite bench, right? Let me assure you. And then how does this influence behaviour? Places behave. I get in taxis all the time, even when I don't need them. A, because I'm sad. B, because I can ask that question. So what's this place like? And most of the time, right? Most of the time, you can all hear me, can't you? Yes. Good. Most of the time, when I get in a taxi, they say, what's this place all about? What's it like? They say, it's rubbish. Great, that's a good start, isn't it? So I've got off my train, I've come to a business meeting, I've got in the taxi, I've asked the taxi driver, he's told me it's rubbish. I then do my meeting, I get in with another taxi driver who probably uses a different word, it might be a swear word, I get my train home. My partner says, so what's it been like today and wherever you've been? I said, I don't know, apparently it's rubbish. So, but that's what happens. So influencing behaviour of place is very important. And all of this process is about change and helping places change and providing a framework for that change. And remember, you already have a brand, you already have a reputation. People already think things about you. You've seen some of those headlines, so people are already there. But many place brands that you look at are not what we would call a place brand. They are trappings of brands. So for a lot of people, a brand is a logo. Not for us, right? And you'll see in what Gareth talks about how critical this is, that this is about a story, a narrative, a direction, a sort of sense of travel, a sense of place. But we all like logos, so I'm going to show you some. Here are some logos. Aren't they lovely? There's nothing wrong with them. So anyway, I want you cleverly to think, which sector do you think they're aimed at? Tourism. It's tricky, that one, isn't it? Because at the end of the day, they're either green, orange, blue, and some cunningly are all three. Yeah? Whether they bring about a sustainable change in a place, whether they create jobs, I doubt it. Some of them are at the heart of and have been at the heart of quite successful campaigns, like the Spanish one, but they're not about sustainable change. The other thing that people have is strap lines. We don't do strap lines, right? Because at the end of the day, if a place isn't good enough to use its name, to characterise itself, to be proud of itself, heaven help. But at the end of the day, I'm going to show you a strap line because you love them. Here we go. Land of contrasts. How many times have you seen a place described as that? Many, probably. So you sat after your Christmas lunch, stuffed, and on come the holiday adverts. It's brilliant. Plan your holiday just while you're having Christmas lunch. So you'll see a picture of a couple and they're walking through a beautiful beach area, looking at the sea. And then you see them on a mountain landscape, walking through flowers. Then they're having a cappuccino on a street corner. Bit of old architecture, bit of new architecture. It's amazing, this, you know? And you hear the end of the advert, come to this place. It's a land of contrast. And amazingly, not many places you can go to the beach, climb a mountain and have a cappuccino, you know? You just can't. That is not about distinctiveness of place. And it would have been a good idea, but some people got there first. And some other people got there. And some other people got there. And then we stopped counting. It doesn't work. It's marketing. Bleh. It's not authentic, it's not about the place, it's not special. Here again, look at these. So we've got some countries now with some lovely things. Look at this. Estonia's in the heart of Europe, is it? A small country with a big heart, a cool country with a warm heart. Hearts are in, hearts are good. And you look at that and you think, well, yeah, I can kind of go with some of that. But unfortunately, that is the relationship between those things. It's all meaningless. You know, it doesn't work, right? But people have fun doing it. So, the key bit is a strong place brand has to stand for something, it has to be authentic, it has to differentiate you, because if it doesn't differentiate you, how on earth can you be chosen? So it's about differentiation. And why is it important? It's important because you want to do all of these things and more, right, in your place, just like everybody else. And if you don't do this, and if you don't focus on this, other people are doing it. And ultimately, when you do this, you create some interest. You create some care, you create some understanding, and you create a sense of place. And that's what this is all about. It's focusing on what makes the place special, bringing it to life in a story so that it matters for the people that potentially could care, live, work, invest in that place. So, I said it's an art, not a science, this, but there is our sort of core methodology here in terms of doing this. And this is what we did with working with the 4 places, and they worked through this, as Carolyn said, with our guidance. And the first bit's the most important bit, understanding what the place is all about, talking to people in a way they have never talked about the place before, getting them to honestly look at its gaps, getting big groups from the community to take part in workshops, right, and talk about the place. And that happened in all of these things. To understand the strategies and policies for the place, and to walk it, talk it, photograph it, do everything with it so you can feel it as a place. Then it's about developing that into a story. What is that story that comes out of all that thinking? What's the geography that's associated with the place? Because most places think like that when they should be thinking like that. So how big's the geography? What's the story? What are the messages? And then how do we tell that story? Visually, verbally, what words do we use? What messages? What images? Because images are the most important thing. When you look round and when you see what Angarad's going to show you, you'll see how different and how exciting getting that story and bringing it to life can be. And that ends up in a storybook. And then finally we get to the stage, which is the hardest bit, the long haul of implementation, which never ends. Because this isn't a campaign that you start and think, oh, in 6 months we've finished. This is the essence of your place, ongoing. It's a long-term strategic intervention to make the place work. That's what it's all about. So, I think I've probably said enough at that point, so I will hand over now to Angarad, who will talk you through how all that thinking translated into each of those places.